Hello and welcome to my channel where we may be days, but we are not confused. Habari, gani. Ujima. Ujima means collective work and responsibility. So, why is this important? This is the epitome of being your brother and sister's keeper. This is important to a community, to a social group, a tribe, because if you do not look at another person's problems and also another person's successes and wins as directly impacting you, then you are less likely to work cooperatively with that person to enhance the well-being of all of the people that are in the said group. So in Kwanzaa, the purpose of all of these different principles are to try to restore what was lost among a vast group of people who were brought from many different sections and regions of Africa, and they were all kind of thrown together. And I think we take for granted the idea that African Americans were from Africa, because within Africa, it is actually a continent and not a country. So there are many different countries, many different tribes and dialects and languages and religions and all kinds of things. And when you have all these people come together and you put them together just on the basis of their skin color, but without recognizing the vast differences in culture and different beliefs and all these things that could actually serve as deterrents to them truly coming together as one group, you can really lose the core foundation of what it means to be a community, especially when you're lumped in together. And, it feels like that hasn't been completely even rectified. And at some level, I think that these various differences and this sense of not quite viewing another person as really being connected to you or to ourselves contributes to our lack of cooperation with each other, and our lack of being able to see each other's either woes or successes as being also our collective responsibility. So again, if you don't identify as a person of African American descent or from the diaspora, this also can apply to you, because these principles are not exclusive to one particular group. These are principles that really apply to all human beings, and can be helpful when trying to figure out how to connect with others. You could also just be trying to find your own tribe and find ways to connect in a more balanced, whole kind of way. So, collective work and responsibility. Many times we are conditioned to really just kind of focus on whatever it is that we're doing and really make that be our sole purpose, our sole thing that we put our energy into. And then we kind of get this sense of myopic views where if we see someone else doing something or maybe struggling, it's their problem. Let them figure it out. If they're not getting something, or if they don't have something, I'm sorry, I feel bad for them, but I'm too busy trying to do this thing for myself, because it takes all of my effort. It takes all of my energy to do it. And so I really can't, in good faith, put any energy towards this other individual. All right. This to me, I see a lot when driving down the highway and there's like a person who doesn't have a home, and they might be requesting some type of support in the form of funds, or maybe they have a sign. And so many times, some people just won't even look at them, and they just ignore them. And, I've been that person as well. When I have something, honestly, sometimes I like to give it. Other times I'm too embarrassed. Like if I don't have anything to give, I feel awkward having to make eye contact with that person, or having to look at the state that this person is in, where they need to ask me for help. They're asking me to give them something. And, I feel as if, just speaking for myself, that there's almost this sense of, well, you have to make sure that you put all your effort into getting your own stuff first, and I think that well-meaning people will say, put your own oxygen mask on first and then. But, what happens if you're constantly going without oxygen and you always have to have your oxygen mask on? When do you ever have time to look to the left or right and help someone else, including people that are not capable of doing things like that on their own, or they need that extra help? When do you have the time and opportunity to help others if you're constantly having to put on your own oxygen mask? At some level, we are being forced to live in conditions that put us in a state of constantly having to put on our own oxygen mask, so we cannot look to the left or the right to see what our neighbor needs in order to get a breath of air as well. And this is why Ujima is a principle. Because although this is something that maybe would be more natural in circumstances or a time where people could come together and, like, literally the success or the failure of a group is dependent upon everybody pulling their weight, everybody working to make the thing happen. In those times, it just makes sense to do it because that's just how you survive. But in a time where you're given the illusion of an opportunity to kind of do it all on your own, and it's all you, and it's your own efforts, and you're the only person that matters, and as long as you did this all by yourself, you pulled yourself up by your own bootstraps, without recognizing the platform on which we stand, without recognizing the efforts that went from people that came before us, that put us in a position to where we could be in the space to even start to say something like that, or feel as if we're doing something all on our own. We're all interconnected, and the sad truth about it is that if we're not connecting in a conscientious way to work collectively to attain certain goals that we are collectively wanting to reach, and taking responsibility for each other and actually caring enough about each other to take that on, we're going to do it anyway, but it's going to be in the form of, taking advantage of other people who are being, maybe putting more in and not getting as much out of it, creating the illusion that some people are working harder than others and therefore they should have more, so on and so forth, so that, it justifies the fact that there are people who are in states of lack or going without, but maybe putting in more work, or maybe having to struggle more and suffer more and still put in the same effort but have nothing to show for it, but other people have more to show for it. So this is not to promote any particular political ideology as well, but it's just an honest conversation about these principles and where they could apply in our own lives. And we can kind of look at, how connected are we? How much do I connect with others in my community, or even in my family or my social circles? And, how much do we work together to do stuff? How much do we take responsibility for each other as well? To reach out a helping hand, to lift somebody up if they're going through, or, how much can I reach out to someone and ask them for help on something that I'm genuinely working on that they can, help me out with, just off of the fact that they feel as if my success, if I'm able to do really well with this, that this would somehow, help them as well. Not in a, parasitic kind of trying to take advantage of a situation and get something out of someone, but more so just because that person being happy and being balanced and being whole and being secure where they are impacts me directly, because we're so connected in our day-to-day life that it would have a positive impact. If not, another question you can ask yourself is, how isolated are you from others that their lack of being able to accomplish something, or their lack of ability to have what they need doesn't actually impact you, and vice versa. All right, so let's do a few cards and see what messages we can get about collective work and responsibility. I got too many there. All right, got the Star in reverse. All right, so what I'm picking up with this is with collective work and responsibility. I feel like this is speaking to maybe not having so much emphasis on one specific person being elevated above everyone else. I feel like this is about sometimes recognizing when you need to not dim your light or allow people to just throw shade at you because they're threatened by your brightness of how you shine or how much you're able to get something done, but recognizing how you can use your skills, your talent, your ability to achieve, your ability to do well. Maybe you're doing better than people in your circle or people around you. Recognizing that you can also fill your own cup and feel secure in who you are and accomplish what you're doing, and also pour a little bit into the cups of others so that they can have a little bit of light, so that not so that you can shine for them and give it all away, but give them just enough of that. This, I'm picking up like this water energy, this spiritual energy that they can use to light themselves up and keep going. Because a lot of us are, we live in situations where we're being dimmed all the time. And just having that one person that comes in and encourages you or helps you out, or, quite frankly, gives a damn, that you would be surprised at how much of a difference that makes. I noticed this at my job. Just doing something small, like, grabbing something for someone when it was their job to do it, but I can just go grab it real quick. I'm right here. Just the light that you see in people's eyes when you do that, because that's how disconnected we've gotten, that somebody doing something like that is just seen as being this kind, this warm thing, because we're not used to getting that. And we are very much used to the idea that everybody go do your own thing. If you don't have it, oh well, that's you didn't do it, that's your punishment for not doing. When everybody can benefit and appreciate a helping hand when you're able to give it to someone, particularly if it doesn't cost you too much, or it's not that much for you to go out of your way to like do something small for someone. The dividends that come from that in the form of goodwill towards others and how that can multiply is invaluable. Okay, let's do another card here. Okay, all right, so I have synchronicity. So I feel as if it's important, and this came out in the reverse. I'm going to take it in the reverse just to see. I feel like this is saying that if you have been noticing patterns, or you've been picking up messages that are telling you that you should, maybe check up on someone or try to connect with another person. Maybe you're noticing someone might be, not doing well, and you might say, well, I don't want to, say something, or that person might be giving you clues that they're not doing well, or that they would like a helping hand or something like that. Try not to be the person that tries to ignore that and act like, well, if the person just doesn't outright say, then that means that I don't have to help, because that could be a bit of a cop-out, I think. Because it gives us an excuse to not be that person that reaches across the aisle to try to be the person who is going to take that first step to offer help. Especially because we are in a society where it's looked down upon and frowned upon to ask for help or to reach out to someone and try to connect. I think that with us being more isolated and being in certain situations, that's starting to change a little bit, because people are recognizing the value and importance of that. But if you're picking up signs that somebody needs help, basically bottom line, don't wait for the person to ask you. Be the person that reaches across the aisle to lend a helping hand. Okay, I feel like that really connects with this message here. Okay, let's get another card. This one peaked. Let go of guilt. Okay. All right. So this could also be, for some people, maybe you have a sense of, you might feel like you have to kind of hide what you have, or you don't really get involved in other people's stuff because maybe you're doing so well and you have so much going for you that you feel guilty about it, and you feel like the best way to be modest and the most polite thing to do is just to not get involved, do your own thing, but don't allow people to really connect with you in your successes because you don't want them to feel bad. This is saying to forgive yourself if you think you've done something. And I'm seeing here that just being realistic. Sometimes when you're shining very brightly like that, and you go around people who have been struggling, they're going to lash out at you and maybe make you feel a certain way about it. But in shifting to an energy or a vibe of collective work and responsibility, a lot of this can be, the energy of this can be changed when people feel invested, and also when people feel as if they have something to contribute as well. When we're doing things all for ourselves, and we're winning or losing all on our own, and we're telling ourselves that we got ourselves to this space on our own with no help, or so on and so forth, we usually don't include others in that. But when people feel like they're a part of the process, sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes people will put effort into making something work because it's going to benefit them as well. Okay. And this is not always the best way to go about things, but I feel like we're moving into a time where it's going to be imperative for people to think more along the lines of what you can work together with other people to try to make successful, as opposed to just putting all your efforts and energy into doing something on your own and then maintaining that. Getting multiple people involved who have just as much vested interest, the key words being just as much vested interest, not people that are just, attaching for whatever reason. I don't care whether, it works or not. If you could find those people, then you might have an easier time at going about accomplishing whatever goal it is that you're trying to do. And it also creates a sense of community and connectedness to where people feel as if they matter and that they have something to contribute, and that most importantly, they can work together with others to, accomplish goals. Also, I'm picking up that there's a much, there's not as harsh a penalty if they aren't successful at something. We're taught so much that, failure is a part of life, but there are some really serious consequences for failing in our society. And that's why I feel like there's so much effort put into, save yourself, because no one's coming in to save you and all that extra stuff, is because the consequences are so serious. But when we work collectively and we take responsibility for each other, it's not as daunting. All right. So the last messages I'm getting here is that one of the things that can make this better is to allow the energy of this to not be something where you're tying yourself down or making yourself subordinate to the wills and wants of others. I'm getting this image of high school projects where, people don't always carry their weight and there's one person that has to do it. But this is saying that it's important to embrace enthusiasm, okay? And to allow yourself to recognize how blessed you are in spite of whatever your circumstances are, because you're able to work through it with this group or this team or this tribe or whatever it is that's on the same page as you and helping you to kind of get through it, and you kind of have each other's backs. All right. And it's like divine companionships, not necessarily in romantic ways, but connecting with people who have a similar soul purpose to you, or that they are in alignment with what it is that you're trying to do, and they're there to help make it easier and help you to overcome certain boundaries and obstacles that might be in place for you. All right. All right, so this is what I have for the message. Thank you for joining me on this channel where we may be dazed, but we are not confused. And until the next video, bye-bye.